Hi guys, Happy New Year. So, where do I begin? So, obviously it's January 2018. My last video, shamefully, was back in July 2017. I have been thinking about doing videos. I have actually recorded videos previously to keep you guys updated, but a lot of them were very sad, very struggling to come to terms with what we've been going through. So I didn't want to keep putting miserable videos on there, and I thought when the time's right I will come back online and give you guys an update, because I know there's particular people that have been following us on our journey. So if you haven't watched my previous videos, it would probably make sense to go back and watch them, but just a brief overview. So Jake and I started our IVF back at the end of 2016. We had an attempted fresh cycle in January 2017. They had to freeze all because I was at a huge risk of overstimulating. So they managed to freeze 8 embryos that were really good grades as well. So then we went back on to treatment and we started doing buserelin and cyclogest and estrogen tablets. And we had a frozen embryo transfer in June 2017, which was it did end in pregnancy, which was great, but unfortunately ended the pregnancy in a chemical miscarriage in July, which is the previous video I told you guys about, which I watched it tonight. It's heartbreaking to watch. It's so heartbreaking. And it sort of reminded me about how I felt physically as well. It's just it's amazing how time flies past and you do almost put it to the back of your mind. So Jake and I tried to begin again another cycle in September, and we actually we'd gone away for a mini break for 4 days, started taking the medication, was really psyched up for it, but I have to be honest with you guys, I didn't feel physically great still. I hadn't really bounced back from the miscarriage for whatever reason, because I've been pregnant at later stages and not had this impact prior. But yeah, as I said, I didn't feel great, but I continued with the treatment. I was responding to medication. They mirrored exactly the same cycle as what we did previously when I did fall pregnant. And we got to about November where I kept injecting with buserelin, because you can keep taking that for months if you had to, at a low dose to keep yourself going. And what the buserelin is meant to do is thin your lining, to downregulate you basically. And for whatever reason, my lining started thinning in the middle but thickening up on each side. And I remember this, it was actually probably beginning December, and I literally was laying there in King's and I just said to the guy, I can't keep doing this. I feel awful. I feel like I've been hit by a bus. My stomach is swollen. I'm getting pains. My IBS had been flared up that I haven't had since I was about 15 years old, because I'm internally scarred, and that's another story from 15 years ago. And for me, I couldn't paste together, even what the hell's happened, because we've mirrored what's happened last time and I fell pregnant last time. So it was a case of me gripping onto the bed, and I literally was gripping the bed like this, where I could barely walk. And I just said to the guy, like, how much longer are we talking on medication? And he said to me, I think, Francesca, the best thing would be to come off it. And it was almost like a relief. And how selfish is that? That is something we want so much, but my own personal reasons, I was just like, thank you very much, get me off this medication now. And I feel awful for saying that, because so many people are fighting to get cycles on the NHS. So many people are fighting to even be seen by an IVF specialist, and there's me saying I was relieved they'd cut my cycle, but I felt so ill. I just knew in my heart of hearts it was never going to work. So this is why I'm posting the video today. So we went back to King's yesterday and saw the embryologist lady who actually put my embryo back inside me last time when we were successful. And she said to me she'd read my file and they were completely confused as to why I didn't respond to the buserelin like I had previously. I said that I wasn't feeling very well. I sort of put the questions forward, you know, could it be because I miscarried previously, as my body not had time to recover? And then she was sort of saying, well, no, actually, you're more fertile when you've lost a baby. So really, that's the time to be responding straight away to medication. So she called us in and asked if we could have a scan. And we went in and it was probably the longest internal scan I've ever had. She switched the screens to 3D a lot and she was checking for polyps in my uterus, which there's none. But I said to her, I feel like I'm due a period, and I hadn't had a bleed since coming off the medication. And I said, I'm definitely feeling like I'm due on. I'm actually walking around with a towel on because I'm expecting it to be a very heavy bleed. And she said, oh, well, that's good. And then I said, like, I'm really sorry. I was half expecting to be bleeding when I took my tights off, but I wasn't. And I said, oh, I've got the back pains and the chest pain. And so she started scanning me and she said to me, your lining's still really thin. It's at 4.4 millimetres. And then she had a look at both my ovaries and she said, oh, they're not dormant. I don't think she used the word dormant. She said almost like nothing's going on with them. So she was like, yeah, I can see it's almost a bit clouded in the scan, which indicates you probably are due a bleed. She said, but everything looks fine. You are definitely, without being induced a bleed, you won't be due on at the moment. Which I thought was fascinating, that firstly she can determine that. But also, how am I feeling? I'm not in tune with my body at the moment, because how am I feeling that I'm certain, dead certain I'm going to bleed? You know, I've had periods since I was 10 years old. How can I be getting it so wrong? It's so confusing at the moment. So anyway, they had a few more scans they were doing. They seemed to strike off every option they had in their minds as to why I didn't respond to the buserelin, and they came to no conclusion. It's just one of those things. So the only thing that they've determined is that going forward, we're not going to do buserelin cycle this time round. So I am looking to do a Cetrotide one again. They've asked me to induce a bleed, which I'm thankful that I got given those tablets because I feel like I need a bleed. So I started taking the tablets yesterday. I finished them. I've got 3 more to take, so that will take me to Monday. I think, can't remember the date, Monday the 8th, I think it's the 8th. And then I will call them when I start bleeding, which will probably be about Wednesday the 10th. And at that point, they will then call me in for a scan once the bleed's over, have a look. And if things look thin and great, then I might not even need to take Cetrotide. I might just be able to go straight in for the estrogen and the Pessaries, the Cyclogest. If I need a little bit of sort of help, then at that point I would start injecting with Cetrotide. The only thing they can tell me is that this cycle is a shorter cycle. This cycle is a bit of hit and miss. We don't know if I'm going to respond. It was a dead cert almost last time with the buserelin one, and that's why they got completely confused. So this time round, it's going to be a little bit of playing around to see what works, what doesn't. How am I feeling about it? Physically, I feel the best I've probably ever felt since being on the IVF. So I do think it's a good time to start the cycle. I do get pains, I'm not going to lie, but I think that's part and parcel of being pulled about so much. As I said, I am heavily internally scarred because of peritonitis from 15 years old. So that will always flare up if I'm being pulled about abdominally. And yeah, I think I'm ready to go. It's been I'm glad to see the back of 2017, and I literally toasted it at New Year and was like, you can do one now, off you go. I felt like it was an awful year for us. There are babies being born left, right and centre at the moment. And it's really got the better of me in the last few months. I'm not going to lie. I've not taken to certain people having babies. Why, I don't know. There's no pattern, but just certain people upset me, the thought of them. And then other people, it's like I'm really rooting for them. It's strange, isn't it? But I've had the few stupid comments where some people sort of say, oh, you know, there's other options. There's, you know, if you need to do it, you can just go ahead and adopt. And, you know, it's when you speak to some people that have got no experience of it, even like when they talk about adoption, and then it's almost like you're going to pick a bag of crisps up in the supermarket. Oh, yeah, you know, you go and pick a child up and adopt them. Yeah, like it's that simple. I mean, we've got friends that have gone through the adoption process. It's not even on my radar at the moment, but I take my hat off to them about what they have had to, you know, do and prove and, you know, see if the child will accept them. And, you know, one person who I know, he's now got a family with 3 children. I think there's a 4th child on the way, where they've adopted from this same lady, and it's amazing. And for me, you know, I'm moaning and whinging about the IVF, and I think people think that even the adoption's like an easier option, and I think it's not. It really isn't. But as I said, like, I'm not even talking about adoption. I would never write it off. Let's just say that. But I haven't done enough research. And, you know, I've heard through the grapevine that you do have to be completely off IVF for like a year or 6 months before you're even entertained. So at the moment, we're still in the running as far as I'm concerned. We've still got frozen embryos. And I'll make use of them the best I can. I am concerned why I didn't respond. And I am concerned as to can I carry or... So what I'm asking from you guys is, now you've watched this video and know what's going on, if any of you can relate to it, if you know someone, if you've been through it, please, please, please get in touch with me. Please share this if you know people with a similar situation. I'm on a few Facebook groups now that support IVF, especially in London as well. But I just need some answers because Google don't seem to have the answer to this one. So, but anyway, I promise to keep you guys updated this time round. As I said, I feel better in spirit, so that gives me a good fighting chance for this cycle. And fingers crossed, 2018's our year. Speak to you guys later. Bye.